They say money reveals people's true faces, and I didn't have to wait long to see how ugly it could get. My name is Jasper Collins. I'm 34 years old, and this is the story of how my stepmother tried to erase me from my father's legacy. A legacy worth $36 million. She thought she had won. She thought I'd walk away with nothing. But then the lawyer read one single line in my father's will, and the entire room changed forever. Jasper's father, Richard Collins, had been a self-made man. From selling newspapers as a boy to building one of the largest construction companies in the state, Richard was a man of discipline, grit, and ambition. Jasper grew up watching his father work tirelessly, often gone before sunrise and returning long after sunset. But despite his success, Richard always reminded his son, "Money is only a tool, Jasper. It doesn't make the man, you do." Jasper admired him deeply and carried those lessons into his own life. But when Jasper's mother passed away during his teenage years, everything changed. A year later, Richard remarried. Her name was Victoria. She was elegant, polished, and carried herself like royalty. On the surface, she seemed charming, but Jasper quickly noticed her sharp tongue and calculating nature. While she treated Richard with devotion, she treated Jasper like a shadow, tolerated but never embraced. She often reminded him, subtly or not, that he wasn't hers. As the years passed, the distance between Jasper and Victoria only grew. At family dinners, she would praise her own children from a previous marriage, boasting about their achievements, while dismissing Jasper's hard work as ordinary. When Jasper graduated college and chose to build his own small design firm instead of joining his father's company, Victoria sneered, "Your father built an empire, and you settle for crumbs. Don't expect him to fund your dreams." Jasper bit his tongue, unwilling to cause conflict for his father's sake. When Richard fell ill in his late 70s, Victoria's control over the household tightened. She oversaw his medications, managed his visitors, and began whispering in his ear about protecting the family fortune. Jasper's visits were often cut short with excuses. "Your father's too tired today," or "he needs rest." Still, Jasper never argued. He just wanted time with his father. And even in those brief moments, Richard's eyes lit up whenever Jasper walked into the room. Then, the inevitable day came. Richard Collins passed away peacefully at the age of 81. The funeral was grand, filled with hundreds of people who admired him, but for Jasper, it was a day of silence. He stood by his father's grave, the grief heavy, while Victoria stood by with dry eyes, already fielding whispers about the estate. Jasper didn't care about the money. He just wanted his father back. But Victoria's smug looks hinted at something darker. 2 weeks later, the family gathered in the polished oak office of Mr. Harrison, Richard's longtime lawyer. The air was thick with tension. Victoria sat at the head of the table, her 2 children flanking her like guards, while Jasper sat alone, calm but uneasy. Victoria's lips curled into a smile as she leaned toward him and whispered, "Don't get your hopes up. Your father knew who really stood by him." "You'll get nothing." Mr. Harrison began to read the will. The estate, valued at $36 million, included properties, businesses, and investments. At first, it seemed to confirm Victoria's confidence. To her and her children, Richard left shares in the company, real estate, and significant financial accounts. Each line added fuel to her triumphant smirk. Jasper sat quietly, his chest heavy, wondering if his father had truly forgotten him. Then came the final section. Mr. Harrison adjusted his glasses and read slowly. "And to my beloved son Jasper Collins, who I know walks his own path, I leave something far more important than wealth. I leave him the controlling shares of Collins Construction, 51% ownership, because I know he carries not just my name, but my vision. Money fades, but legacy lives on. The company belongs to him." The room fell into stunned silence. Victoria's smile shattered instantly, her face draining of color. Her children exchanged panicked glances, realizing what it meant. While they had millions in assets, Jasper now controlled the empire. Without him, they had no say. He wasn't just included. He was now the head of the family's fortune. Victoria slammed her hand on the table. "This must be a mistake," she snapped, but Mr. Harrison shook his head. "Your husband was very clear. He updated this will just 6 months ago. These are his final binding wishes." Jasper felt his throat tighten with emotion. His father had seen him, trusted him, and left him not just money, but responsibility. He hadn't abandoned his son after all. Victoria's arrogance crumbled as guests in the room whispered, some even smiling at the justice of it all. In the weeks that followed, the truth became undeniable. Jasper stepped into his new role. honoring his father's legacy with humility and vision. Employees who had feared Victoria's influence now looked to Jasper with respect. He didn't flaunt his new power or wealth. Instead, he focused on expanding the company, creating jobs, and giving back to the community, just as his father would have wanted. Victoria, however, spiraled into desperation. She had expected to control everything, to rule the empire. Instead, she was left sidelined, her influence gone. For the first time, she had to face the reality that the man she dismissed as ordinary had become the most powerful person in her world. Jasper never gloated. He never sought revenge. When people asked how it felt to prove her wrong, he simply said, "My father knew me. That's enough." And so, what began as a moment of cruelty, his stepmother declaring he'd get nothing, ended as a powerful reminder that true worth is not in what people say about you, but in what you prove through your character. His father had left him more than millions. He had left him trust, faith, and the key to a legacy that would outlive them all. So the next time someone tells you you're worth nothing, remember Jasper's story. Sometimes all it takes is one line, one truth, to change everything.